The aim of this video is to show you how to use Tinkercad to create your 3D wheels for your Race for the Line project. So first off, load up your favourite web browser, head on over to tinkercad.com. Click onto the sign in button, and if you are using your school account, you'll need to click on this button here, click in using social media providers. We're using Google, so click onto that one, choose the relevant account, and then you're in. If you haven't created any designs before, you'll see this big blue button here to get started, create new design. Here's a couple I created earlier on. Let's take a quick look at this with the Tinker This button. This is the kind of thing that we're aiming to create. Let's head back over to the main Tinkercad website and start from scratch. Like a lot of programs, it could be a bit tricky to get going, but once you know what you're doing, you can create some really cool stuff. First off, give it a name. By default, it's given it this name, which is pretty rubbish. So click on there and give it a name. Probably one that's a little bit more imaginative than that. If the screen occasionally goes black, don't worry about that. That's just a bit of a problem with the web browser. I am going to click on Edit Grid. We're working in millimeters, so that's fine. Remember, the minimum size for your wheel is 75 millimeters. I'm just going to create the grid a little bit bigger than that, just to keep it nice, neat and tidy. Update grid. Okay, basic camera control. You've got the middle wheel on your mouse button. Use this to scroll in and out. You've got right mouse click, which rotates, and left is used to select. Just play around with the mouse, alright? It's the best way to learn how it works. We're going to start off with a simple cylinder shape. These are called our primitive shapes. So I'm going to drag that onto the work plane. And we are also going to need the all-important ruler. Why it doesn't put it on here by default, I don't know. We're just going to line it up with the bottom left-hand corner of the grid. Now, if you have misplaced it, see this little circle here when I roll over it? Just click onto that part and just line it up with the bottom left-hand side of the grid. It all lines up perfectly. Right, with this shape selected, there's all sorts of numbers. Don't worry about this too much. I'm going to explain how it all works. Use the mouse to right mouse click to rotate around to the top view. This enables me to easily adjust the size. Now, of course, we don't want to end up with a wheel that looks a bit pear-shaped. If you hold down the Shift key whilst you're resizing, that's the key above the control key, you will see it will maintain what it's called its aspect ratio, so the wheel will remain perfectly round. Now for the actual size, instead of resizing it like this, I am just going to change these figures here. So this one, minimum size is 75, I'm going to make it 76, you'll see why later on. That way, and 76, oh no, wrong one, escape. Oh no, it was that one, 76. This way, no, not that one. Undo. Okay, undo button, always useful. Control Z. Not that's the height, that one there. Oh, width, there it is. 76. And I want to position it relative to this axis. Just change. Oh, yeah, this one here to 0. Okay, let's see what happens. Boom, there it is. Lines it up to the left hand side. Same with this one, 0. There we go. So it's now lined up to our grid rather nicely. Right, height of the wheel. I'm going to make this 4 millimeters. If you don't know what 4 millimeters looks like, just get a ruler out and you can see. So this is our basic wheel. As you can see, for some reason we've lifted it up off the grid and we want it on the grid, so change that to 0. Let's make this a little bit more circular. So on the shape properties you see over here, if we change sides from 20 to 64, it just makes it a lot smoother. If you want to add a bit of a bevel to it, you can have a play around with that. Let's get a hole through the middle of the wheel. To help me do that, I'm going to use a cylinder. I'm just going to pop that to one side for a minute, and I'm going to make this a different colour so you can see exactly what I'm doing. This is going to be used to stamp a hole right through the middle of the wheel. Size, I'm going to make this 4 mil, but you may well need to check that. So I have now messed that up. 4 mil across. And why can I, oh yeah, that one there, change that to 4 as well. Now we want to position this in the middle of this circle. So this is where we have to do a bit of maths, right? It's not too difficult. How big was the wheel? Do you remember? We made it 76 millimeters. So that means halfway across this circle is going to be 76 divided by 2, which by my calculations is 38. If we change this to so 38 across this one, 38 here, that's not going to quite be in the middle, because remember this is 4 mil across, so half of 4 is 2. 38 minus 2 is 36. So if you change these both to 36, that is going to be smack bang in the middle of the wheel. We need this to protrude through the other side. I can do this, or if let's undo that by increasing. Don't want to increase the height, I just want to make it lower down. So if we change this to say minus 10, or probably a bit too much, or no, 1, oh no, minus, I changed the wrong one, don't worry. Change it to 20, yeah, minus 6, so it's protruding through the bottom now by 6 millimeters. I want this to be the hole, so this is really cool. You click on hole, right? And what we can do is, if we now group both of these together, you'll end up with a hole through the middle of the wheel. So clicking on this one, holding down the shift key, clicking on the other wheel, that selects them both at the same time. Or another way of doing that, you can just draw a big square around the whole lot. Shapes, we can see we've got 2 selected. Finally, just click on this group button. Boom. Right, there we go. You can now see we've got a hole through the middle of our wheel. Okay, so this is a fairly simple wheel to start off with. See if you could do that, and then head over to the second tutorial where I'll show you how to do one that's slightly cooler than this one. Okay, hopefully you found that really good.